our third and final topic. Um, Obi-Wan Kenobi was originally planned to be a movie trilogy. Now, this comes to us from the direct and a interview they did with one of the original writers, Stuart Beattie. Uh, he says, right, so not at all. I wrote the film that they based the show on. So yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it, and then when the decision was made not to make any more spin-offs, after Solo came out, I left the projects. Joby Harold came on, took my scripts, and turned it from 2 hours into six. It's not six, but it's you know what he means.
Yeah.
So I did not work with them at all. Just got credit for episodes, as it says up here, 1, 2, 3, and 6. He says that there was three stories. There was three different evolutions he saw to the character to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. And the first one was the first movie, which was the show, Surrender to the Will of the Force. Transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. The second movie, and this is really interesting, this is where our majority of our discussion will be, is the second movie was think about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably the most powerful moment in all of Obi-Wan's story is the moment where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just kind of go be fighting a guy to see Luke and go, I'm going to die. That to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. He then talks about in his second film, Qui-Gon was going to say, there's going to come a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself. Obi-Wan's going to deny it. And then we're going to get to a point where Obi-Wan accepts that he's going to die and that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment. And you will know that moment when that moment presents himself. So when he comes to a New Hope, he understands that. And then Joby Harold's like, this was definitely happening. Ewan was on board. And then Solo flopped, as he says here. And then he says, no, I only wrote the first one because they hadn't hired me to do the others yet because I was busy working on the first one. So, thoughts? Lots to unpack.
What could have been? What could have been? That's how I feel. Wow.
Do you think you would have liked this better?
Maybe. But we'll never know.
So, when I first told you about this, the first thing you assumed was, the first season was a trilogy of films. And then when I told you, no, the first season was just the first film.
It's a lot.
We had the same reaction. We were like, well, where does the story go? Right? We've had this discussion about like where a hypothetical Kenobi season 2 could go. You don't want it, right?
We're season 2.
Yeah, you don't want a Kenobi season 2.
I don't want it, but I would watch it.
Right, I definitely don't want it. I'm adamantly against it. I'd probably watch it still, but like a season 2 though, with what Stuart Beattie is describing, and from the 2 interviews that I've read with Beattie, there seems to be a lot of care, a lot of forethinking, a lot of thought, a lot of care. Because we'll also discuss a little bit about what he had for Reva's character, what he had in mind for that. But a second movie, let's talk a little bit about this second film, right? So the main idea of the second film was, how does Obi-Wan go to becoming a man that's willing to sacrifice himself? He's done playing the hero role. He's now going to be the sacrificial lamb in order for somebody else's journey to progress. My only question is, how do you make a whole movie about that?
Yeah, that literally feels like what would be a 1-episode plotline.
Now, there's some hypotheticals we could throw out here. A Obi-Wan Kenobi movie about him exploring the cosmic force, similar to him, or similar to Yoda in the Clone Wars. That would be really fascinating to me. The only problem with that is he would have to leave the planet. But I think we could do that now. You could explain that again. I don't love this because this is. I just don't love Kenobi leaving the planet in the first place. I understood it for Leia. That one I
Well,
can get.
well, now if you think about it, the way that the Kenobi ends is he basically ends off by telling Owen he can safely leave the planet now because now all Owen has to do is protect him because Owen and Beru proved that they were more than capable of doing it. And so that's how I see it, at least. I don't think this was a thing of like, oh, Kenobi can't leave the planet anymore because he has to protect Luke. Luke has two protectors.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I still love the idea of. I still don't like him leaving the planet. But if they were to do it, I'm fine with them explaining that Beru and Owen are capable, and Kenobi's fine with leaving Luke to them.
Yeah.
At least in a case if something happens. I would love this film to have be Obi-Wan's exploration of the cosmic force. Kind of take it George's ideas of his sequel trilogy with the Wills.
Yeah.
Uh, that would be something really fascinating to see in the second season. Um, him possibly. I don't remember what planet Yoda goes to, where he talks to the Wills. Do you know?
Where he talks to the Wills.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's on Dagobah.
Oh, was it? No, wait. I'm talking. I know he talks to the Wills, and okay, it might have been in the cave he went into. Yeah, it might have been the cave, but they could do something along the lines. I don't remember exactly, but
Hold on, I'm
where
looking.
Obi-Wan
So,
is learning about the cosmic force, and through the cosmic force, he learns how to accept the fact that he's going to die. Right, some more of that foreshadowing, and more of the transition to the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. How we would really like a second film or a second series to open up is like Ben starting to lose his physical capabilities even more. Like he's
mm,
becoming more tiresome. And this
yeah.
is why he has to lean more into the cosmic force, lean more into the teachings of Qui Gon. Uh, but I could see like a Phantom Menace esque second season where it kind of harpens back on the lessons that Qui Gon teaches Obi Wan of the Phantom Menace. And it could kind of be that type of similar thing, with also Obi Wan going on an adventure uh, through the cosmic force. I think that would be really interesting. I think you could make a movie about that. Now, again, there wouldn't be a main villain. That's kind of a problem. But I
You can
think
do another Inquisitor.
no, that's boring. He already defeated Vader.
Eh, I don't know, man.
So, what are
Um,
your thoughts on if they were to do a second? Because there is a possibility that they could do it based on the way the show ended, right? Because Qui Gon says, "Come on, we have a long way to go."
yeah.
What do you think?
Um,
What would you want a second if they went with this idea? Because I think this idea is actually really compelling.
I don't know. I sent you the thumbnail for this, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I think for me, like, I don't. I like don't want anything more. I can't think of what would have been a good story because I think we already got a good story. You
Right.
know, I think I think like when I have trouble thinking of like what could have been. Um, and so I don't know, man. I think I'm just happy we got what we got. I don't think I would have changed it for a second. As
Now, like
boring as that is.
the one thing I totally agree, but like I just love the ideas here with this second film. But the only problem is like again, the second film to me would seem kind of limited, especially since you couldn't have Vader,
Yeah.
and then like the third one would be even
Yikes.
more limited. What would the
Yeah.
third movie be about? Like the days leading up until like he
A new
accepts his
hope.
death?
Yeah. I don't even know. I
And then
don't know, man.
also I gotta ask, what do you think about? his story treatment for Reva. So he would have had Vader kill Reva, and Reva wasn't gonna know that Anakin was Vader. She was never gonna piece that together. She was actually told by Obi-Wan the truth, and that's when Reva goes and tries to sacrifice her life for Ben, and she eventually dies. Because in her mind, in Beattie's interpretation of the story, Reva was all in on getting Kenobi because she deemed the biggest villains of the galaxy the Jedi Order because they failed. Right there,
Right.
they had tried to overthrow the Republic. She bought into the propaganda. What in principle, in storyboard, remember this is just chalkboard. We never saw the execution to this.
Hmm.
What do you think about this idea compared to the concept that we got in Kenobi with Reva? What do you think? Just in concept, which one do you like better? Because we saw the execution in Kenobi, and in my opinion,
So
it's okay.
so you're asking, do would I have rather gone with the what we got or what the concept was? Is that what you're
Right.
asking?
Just if you were
Okay.
to match up the concepts we got, like because we already saw how it was executed in Kenobi, but just concept wise, which one would you rather have?
Slouching. Gonna get a back hunch. I honestly think Reva should have died to Vader. I think it just would have served her story better. Like, damn, she put all that work in to kill him just to fail.
Right.
And so I think it would have, from a story aspect, would have been better. So I
Well,
would have
right, but
gone.
we also have to remember the story around that would have been different. So, do you like
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Then if it was gonna be different, where where she wasn't. Oh yeah, because she didn't know in the concept. No, no, would have just kept it the way we had it because I like the emotional story that we have right now.
I've
As
thought
Ben's
about
out.
it for a day or so now since I first read about it. In concept, I kind of like the second one much more. Uh, because to me, it just would have made a lot more sense. It would have worked a little bit better for me. Because like it would have eliminated Riva. Because to me, again, just having her out there with her knowing like at least one of the, I mean, we disagree on the second one that she knows Luke is Vader's son.
I think again the way that I interpret that scene is he is important, or because again we have to remember when we're talking about he could mean many different people. So from a hologram perspective of like, oh, Obi-Wan would be noticeably upset if Bale or fucking Vader, Grand Inquisitor, Palpatine, so on and so forth found out about this child. And so I think it was definitely implied that the he is in reference to Darth Vader. So, but I think if we remember that, she doesn't know the exact connection, but this boy is important enough to Obi-Wan that Darth Vader cannot find out. So I think you can definitely go down the route that, yeah, maybe she can piece together he's his son, but I think it's on loose threads that she doesn't or she does make the connection. Either way. So,
She at least knows one of the biggest secrets in the galaxy that Anakin is Vader.
yes. And she's somehow alive to tell the story.
Right. Which again, it's a little problematic to me. Um,
Yeah, I think because I think also the way that I would have liked her story is for her to die at the Lars homestead when she lets go of her hate. Because then again, you have to remember that's what's keeping her alive is her hate. Because I'm telling you right now, that little cloth brown bandage isn't keeping a lightsaber wound together. And
no.
so I think that what would have been a nice, peaceful story for Reva's end is now that Obi-Wan has given her the peace of knowing that she's and essentially avenged everybody who she let die or who she let die, and then she gave them peace and whatnot. I think what would have been a good ending for Reva would have been dying right there afterwards because she let go of her hate for Obi-Wan and for Vader.
That's fair. In concept, I do like what we got better, right? Because
Yeah.
an Inquisitor Reva becomes an Inquisitor not to hunt Jedi, not to hunt her past, but to go after
The leader.
Vader. That's way more interesting in concept. I don't love the execution of it at some points. I feel like her
Yeah.
character's kind of stagnant. But at
Yeah.
the end, it was really well executed. The final two episodes, but then I really wish that it was Vader who just ended
Yeah.
that because I felt like it would have come like full circle. Like she tries to do it, but it would have been a really good Vader moment too. Like Vader, somebody thinks they're gonna betray Vader, but Vader's like, "Nah, I saw you through and through the whole way." Um,
Yeah.
so I do like what Beattie had for an idea to end Reva's story.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the way he was presented Reva's character as somebody who was going against the Jedi, who was hunted down Kenobi willingly, not trying to get the favor of Vader.
Mm-hmm.
I do like her turn. It would have worked better for me, I think, in concept and probably in execution, especially if it was a film. Just because I think it would have been easier to tell in a
Yeah.
film that type of story. And then also the fact that she was going to be the only Inquisitor, the
Yeah.
only Inquisitor of this story. So we would have just focused on her instead of
But
having the Grand
dude,
Inquisitor.
the Grand Inquisitor's so funny.
Yeah, that is true.
Hello. Goodbye.
Um,
Revenge does. Wait.
Revenge
Revenge
does
does
wonders for
wonders
the
of the
will
will
to
to live.
live.
For the
Don't you
will
think
to live. Don't you think?
the sister?
Hello, third sister. Goodbye. It's,
Um,
my favorite meme on TikTok is me and my bro kicking the ball into our neighbor's over the neighbor's fence for the 10th time. Hello. Goodbye.
so what is your final verdict? Would you have wanted to see this film trilogy, or are you
I
fence sitting? What do you think?
I I like what we got more. I think with me personally, I think a trilogy was too much. Too much. One movie, sure, but a trilogy, too much. I don't fully agree with what the original plan for Riva was. I definitely think that I like the plan that she hunted Vader and not the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's personally what I think. How do you? What about you, my good sir?
Um, I think that a trilogy would have been too much. I agree with that. I think a film or a one season television would be perfect. I think we got the best story possible. While I think Beattie's ideas are really compelling, really interested, I have a hard time seeing how you could make 4 more hours of content,
Yeah,
especially without Vader. I mean, I think you could make 4 more hours of content, but would it be quality 4 hours? I don't know.
yeah,
And I would tend to agree. I think Riva's story in Kenobi, or just concept wise, is far more interesting. We just don't know the how Beattie's story would have been executed. I will say, if it was a trilogy, it would have made $3 billion, I think, plus, because
jeez,
each film would
yeah.
have made $1 billion probably.
Oh yeah. But then again,
Uh,
do we want to go down the path of listening to Star Wars fans complain about movies? No. Have you heard anything about Kenobi since it ended about how bad it was?
no,
No. Guess what? I can guarantee you, if this was a movie and people didn't like it, we'd still be hearing about it.
true.